Hi, it's Larold, and this video is going to be kind of a day 2 update before I really get rolling for the day. Just kind of talk about the character that I chose to League start, how it's been progressing so far, look at the PoB, share that, give my thoughts on the melee changes, and then just kind of go from there. And obviously, before I get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, that obligation is done. Now I can kind of talk about the build. Now, first things first, obviously, like, this isn't Toxic Rain. Yeah, I looked at the League, I looked at what Toxic Rain looked like it was going to be, and I kind of made the business decision of wanting to try something new and different. I played Toxic Rain 4. If I go back and look through my notes here, let's see. When was Blight League? I basically played Toxic Rain as my League starter for every league since Blight League, so 2019 was the last time I didn't play Toxic Rain as a League starter, and I really like it. It's definitely made me better at Toxic Rain. I can finish a campaign in, like, not an insane but fast amount of time, 5 hours or something, which, like, compared to a racer, that's horrible, but for me, as, like, a regular style person, I think that's pretty decent, and I knew that by playing something else, I was going to be a lot slower. I wound up being a lot slower. We had some emergencies here at the house, and I wound up, like, whatever. Midway through Act 9, I'm in the garden digging rocks out of the ground with my bare hands instead of slamming through acts. So, obviously, the League start didn't go quite as fast as I wanted to, but that was okay because the whole plan was really to kind of play around with and experiment with this build. I went with the name My Strength Befits a Crown. I played Elden Ring, went and beat Elden Ring, another New Game Plus cycle, the day before the League came along, and I've finished the DLC twice now. Love it. And something that I do in every game except for Path of Exile is I play big, slammy, strong guys. I play all the tanks in WoW, and I have, other than Paladin, I played all the tanks from Vanilla, all both of them, Warrior and Druid, but, like, I've always played, big tanky guys, big strong guys, or, like, big, damagey guys. I'm a big strength bonk build guy in Dark Souls, a little bit more of a strength faith guy in Elden Ring, but always kind of a big bonk guy. So, being, like, Toxic Rain guy, that build is very fast. I still went with the same approach of, like, getting to Act 10 and then doing heist for a while. Big mistake on this build. I knew it was. I realized it as soon as I was on, like, heist number 2. I was like, oh, this character is much slower than Toxic Rain. This is a mistake. I did it anyway. It was familiar. And, I would say that for one day, making it to, like, tier 14 maps, it's okay, right? I spent a lot of time experimenting and playing around. I definitely have a lot of footage. I'll try and pipe that in instead of just some of this boring me standing around in my hideout. But I just kind of wanted to play the new thing, and it did seem like it was going to be really good. And so I kind of wanted to just spend some time experimenting and playing around with melee, and so that's what I did. And ultimately, I have no regrets. I really was kind of blown away by how much damage this build does in acts and in early campaign or late campaign, early mapping. I was really blown away by just, like, by being able to shout it up, get a bunch of shouts going, and then drop the hammer. It's pretty great. Now, I've played around with a couple of things. Pulverize support, it's really good in PoB. It gives you a lot of less attack speed, so I tried playing around with that, tried playing around with some of the, like, slower stuff. That is too slow. I did try using this. I tried using this in, like, a Maven 5 way or whatever it is while you're still working your way through the maps, and it's so slow that, like, you really open yourself up to getting killed by stuff. So don't necessarily love that. Definitely, the character's still very much a work in progress, obviously, but I have actually capped my resistances at least. I'm actually way over capped now, 150 cold res, so way over the cap. But I would say, generally speaking, I wanted to go Berserker because I spent some time looking at the 3 ascendancies, and I'll kind of talk about that now. I saw that Captain Lance was going to play Slam Berserker, and I didn't even look at that video. I didn't want to be, like, I don't know, affected by what other people are doing. But then I saw Ben was also going to play Slam Berserker, and I was like, all right, if multiple people are playing Slam Berserker, let me take a look at this. So I knew I wanted to play a physical Slam build because of all the this stat right here. Hits have a chance to ignore enemy fizz damage reduction, 50 here, 30 here, and 15 here. You can get 95% chance to just completely zero out enemy armor. And then potentially on how, based on how you like move stats around, maybe you can get some from gloves. You could drop this wheel entirely and just have 100% enemy armor, ignore physical damage, ignore, like completely nullify that stat. That's insane. So I knew I wanted to play Fizz Slams. So there's really only 3 options for Fizz Slams. There's Ground Slam, which I have the Transcended version of this. I actually got this 2 times from Cruel Lab and Merc Lab, or maybe it was Merc Lab and Uber Lab. I don't remember. Either way, I got this twice. Very happy with that. I sold one of them off to somebody else who is no doubt enjoying themselves. But as you can see, enormous radius on it. So that's really good. And then the other options for Fizz Slams are Sunder, which I think I still have that. I don't think I converted that. Okay, here we go. So, Sunder, it's okay. You slam, it shoots a long line. Great for the campaign, great for like narrow hallway maps. But the problem is if you slam again, it then kills the previous line. So if you get a lot of attack speed, kind of cuts down your ability to actually slam anything unless you're like super up in melee with it. Then there's a third option, and I actually played around with this for a while in the campaign. Here it is, and that would be Earthshatter. Now, Earthshatter operates very differently from the other slam builds. It slams the ground, and then it leaves some spikes, and those spikes linger, and they last for like 6 seconds. If they get hit by another slam, which means like you would have to use a different slam, then they'll explode early. Terrible. Nobody does this. They also explode if you hit them with a Warcry. Now, the thing about this is they explode if you hit them with an automated Warcry or with a self-cast Warcry, so you can use a mix of both. And so that's what I have going on. My gems don't allow me to fully automate as many Warcries as I would like, but they allow me to automate 3. Right now I'm automating Infernal Cry, which I'm really only using so that I have a Warcry automating. I don't really care about any of the aspects of Infernal Cry. I'm using Seismic Cry, which does give you more AoE on your next 6 slams. And then I'm using Intimidating Cry, which gives you double damage on your next several, 2 attacks. And then all of this is being buffed by Berserker, which Berserker has Warbringer, makes it so that you exert double the number of attacks. And then you also get +1 attack from Measured Fury. That gets added in before the doubling. So the +2 or the 2 exerted attacks from Intimidating Cry goes up to 3 and then goes up to 6. This is all really great. Just looking at the Ascendancy again a bit more here. Aspect of Carnage is 40% more damage. It's just 40% more damage. Not really anything more to say about that. It's amazing. Warbringer is a massive damage increase once you combine all the different Warcries. And then Crave the Slaughter makes it so that your rage gives you attack speed, and more importantly, it makes it last longer. It makes it so that the time before it starts to decay is 2 seconds longer, which I'll get to this in a second. Makes it so that you can basically guarantee permanent uptime on Rage, even when there's downtime on a boss, even when you're moving through a map and there's some downtime, you could still very easily maintain 100% uptime on Rage. Rite of Ruin then gives you 50% increased rage effect. So I'm getting to 49 rage right now. So that's 49% more damage. Rite of Ruin then doubles that, 24.5% more damage. And then it also increases the attack speed from Crave the Slaughter for, instead of 49% increased attack speed, that is also 74% more attack speed. So, all of this comes together to be a really insanely strong package. Now, I did think about the other options for Ascendancies. Juggernaut, incredible quality of life. Unstoppable, stun immune, freeze immune, great quality of life. Unbreakable, great defensive value. Unflinching, great defensive value. Unrelenting, great defensive value. Problem is, as I've just said, defense, 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 quality of life. Where's the damage? Where's the damage? Undeniable gives you attack speed, doesn't give you increased damage. Attack speed does not matter that much on slams. You're not trying to slam fast, you're trying to slam hard. You don't need an accuracy, you're taking resolute technique. It doesn't work for any sort of damage. So Slam Juggernaut totally makes sense from a defensive standpoint. I think if I were trying to do this as a hardcore thing, or just, not a soft core, live fast, die often approach, then that would make sense, but that's not what I was going for. Next opportunity, next alternative. Chieftain, Tessalio, tons of easy capping resistances. Valico, Storm's Embrace, easy, max, 88, all res or whatever. Tukohama War's Herald, that's a free 7 link. If you do have to have it on your body armor though, which kind of limits your linking. I am currently doing my 6 link through a very crappy Vol axe that I bought and slapped like 1 essence on, and then just crafted rank 3 fizz damage on. It's sub 500 DPS, but because it's a 6 link, it's still carrying me very hard so far. And then you have Scion's Sun's Roar. The problem with this is really what I'm building around is exerted attacks. And the thing about Warcries is that they have 2 mechanics to them. They have the buff that they give, and then they have the exerted attack. And these are kind of completely separate from each other. Like if we look at Infernal Cry, this is a great example. The buff gives you Fizz's extra fire. That could be really good for a fire slam build. I think I probably will try to make a Tectonic Slam Chieftain at some point in the league. Don't know what that would look like, but it seems kind of fun. Infernal Cry with the buff would be really good for that. The exerted attacks make you do sort of just an AoE slam or an AoE fire damage proc when you hit with your melee hit. Seismic Cry, another good example. More armor as the buff. AoE effect on the exerted attacks. Totally different concepts. So by automating your Warcries, you don't get the buffs, you just get the exerted attacks. This kind of is at odds with like what I'm really going for with all of these buffs, which are all kind of fueling this new support gem over exertion support, which I think at rank 20, I think it'll be 18% more damage for each Warcry and then 10% more damage if exerted. Now, because of the Berserker buff, we're able to have permanent uptime on exert. Every attack will be exerted. Maybe we won't have every single Warcry. I think Intimidating Cry maybe won't be up 100% of the time if we're attacking a lot. But most of the time it will. So that means that we're sitting at like 5 Warcries. So 0.18 times 5, that's like 90% more damage plus 0.1. It's basically 100% more damage. With this build where we are automating 3 Warcries, self-casting 2, and then, slamming. So we're getting about 100% more damage out of a single support gem. That's insanity. That's completely insane. So just in terms of the Warcries that I'm using, as I said, I'm using Infernal Cry just to have an exerted attack. This doesn't really need to be leveled up. It probably would be better if I left it at level 1 so the mana cost was low. I don't care about what it does. I just care about the fact that the attack is exerted. Seismic Cry I am exerting because the armor would be okay. It would be good, but I'm just exerting it or auto-exerting it because I really just want to have more AoE. And then finally, Intimidating Cry. This one is the one that you would need to stop and actually cast a bunch more often, and the move speed, it's not that huge of a deal, so I'm just auto-exerting that as well. The 2 that I'm self-casting are Rallying Cry, which gives you this big damage buff based on how many allies you hit with it, up to 25% more damage on your next 5 attacks, and then of course that goes up to 6, and then it's double to 12. Now you might think, okay, well, I'm a solo man. I don't have any friends. I don't have anybody that I'm buffing, except we do because we're running Herald of Purity. We actually have 4 stupid large adult sons that we're buffing. So we get this massive damage bonus, and as you can see from the Warcry buff effect, it actually counts its power off of the nearby guys, including your minions, and it gives added attack damage equal to a percentage of your main hand power to those guys, so it makes them a little bit stronger. So I've been self-casting this just specifically because it kind of lines up with the other attack, which is Battle Mage's Cry, and this is maybe like the most interesting tech that I've found in all of this. So Battle Mage's Cry makes it so that your next, again, 5 attacks baseline, 12 with the buffs that we have going on, will automatically cast a spell. Now, as you can see, it says they deal less damage. I only have it at level 2 because I forgot and leveled it up once. I want the cost to be low. I don't care about the fact that it gives crit chance. I don't care about that at all. What I do care about is it automatically casts a spell. Now, less damage, sure, but you can just hook that up to any kind of spell. Curse makes the most sense, and so I played around with vulnerability for a while. You get about 30% increased damage, 35% increased fizz damage on enemies with a vulnerability curse that's like leveled up. That's really good. I also played around, I played around with that for a while, and then I thought, what about punishment? Let's try punishment, since that gives you debilitate on enemies, and debilitate is 20% less move speed and 10% less damage. Maybe that'll make me a little tankier. Also, the damage increase on punishment, it only works when enemies are at 50% and below, but it's not that far off from vulnerability. I think vulnerability is like 30% more damage, roughly. all the time. Punishment's like 50 to 60% more damage or increased damage while they're at half health and below. They're pretty close enough to get by. Obviously, they stack, so I think a long-term possibility would be to spec into Whispers of Doom and then run both. That would be awesome. Get like a punishment on hit ring, or a vuln on hit ring, and a punishment attached to a Battle Mage's Cry. That could work really well. Now, the reason that I'm not just automating Battle Mage's Cry is you do then need that extra link to lock Battle Mage's, or link up Battle Mage's Cry to the spell that you want to cast. Ultimately, I think my long-term goal would be to use Auto Exertion, Battle Mage's Cry with punishment, and then Infernal Cry and Intimidating Cry, and then probably Seismic Cry or Rallying Cry, whatever. And then only cast one Warcry. Probably I would link up Rallying Cry into the Auto Exertion and then just self-cast Seismic Cry, since it lasts for 6 baseline, so 14 with all the buffs, so I'd have to maintain it less often. Now, in terms of the way that I actually play this in maps, it's not nearly as piano as I had feared it would be. I just basically load into a map, tap the 2 buffs, and then start slamming, and whenever I notice that they're about to expire, refresh, and keep going. It's kind of the thing that everybody had asked for a long time when it came to totems, so I'm pretty happy with that. I started on a tangent about Earthshatter earlier and I never really finished it, so I guess I'll finish it now. The thing with Earthshatter is that the spikes do a ton of damage. They more or less shotgun. You can pull up 15 of them, and then a Warcry will blow them all up. And it does a massive amount of damage. You'll see bosses just instantly pop by doing that. The problem is that the clear isn't as smooth, and it also creates a very different play style. So if you're just playing Sunder or Ground Slam, you just refresh the Warcry buffs whenever you're running low on exerts, when you're about to run out of exerts, or you're in a downtime period, a boss is about to spawn, you can cast your cries and get your buffs refreshed, and then, slam once you're actually able to attack. Earthshatter is different. You have to actually do a combo. You build up your spikes, and then you cry to blow them all up. I like the playstyle of Earthshatter. I think once I get one more automated Warcry and I'm down to just self-casting one, I will use it. And now here is where I want to talk about the Earthshatter tech. Okay, Earthshatter explodes when your Warcries pop off, and I don't have any of them. They don't automate when you're in town, so I'm just going to go to Blood Aqueduct and kind of look at them here just for a second. Okay, look at this. Look at all these Warcries, Seismic, Infernal, and Intimidating. Look at them, just look at their cooldown. You'll see that they're all synced up. So I have an idea for tech here. As you can see, the cooldown, or the quality effect on all of the Warcry gems, is that they give increased cooldown recovery rate, and they give a ton of it. 40% at max quality. My thinking is this. If you're going to automate 4 Warcries, you get one at 4, or one at 5%, one at 10, one at 15, one at 20. And so they're all desynced from each other slightly. And so instead of just going one super Warcry where you go, it's sort of a rolling, you're kind of clearing your throat as you are ramming your way through packs of enemies all the time. And so then as you're slamming your Earthshatters down, you're just constantly exploding the Earthshatters the whole way through. This is my thinking. I think it'll work. I like the idea, and I think it could be something to play around with. But I don't have the GCPs to make it work yet. I don't have Jim Crutter's prisms to upgrade anything, much less a bunch of different Warcries. Now, I have another bit of tech here. I had thought about this for a while. I saw Captain Lance put a video up last night, and I did check that out because it was 5 minutes. And so I said, I'll play around with this and see how I like it. So initially, I just had the Warcries cannot exert travel skills mastery here, but you can craft that on a lot of pieces of gear, belts, I think necks. I'm not sure what else. Maybe it's just those 2. Either way, I had a free suffix on a belt. So I crafted it there, and I said, okay, Warcries have a minimum of 10 power, and then second Rage Mastery, Warcries grant Rage per enemy power. So the thing about Rage is that it has a half-second internal cooldown on generating it from hits, but it does it for Warcries. Check this out. So by having this, and especially by having that staggered 5, 10, 15, 20 quality Warcry setup, you can always be generating Rage from your Warcries. Now, right now, I'm not able to do that. Right now, I have to, as soon as I start to notice Rage decay, every couple of seconds, I have to cry again. If I'm fighting a boss or if I'm moving through a map. Normally I would have an automated Warcry popping in there, but they don't function in your hideout. Let's just go back to Blood Aqueduct to kind of show this off. You can see 6 rage right there, right? Okay, second pass. And then I'm just going to sit here. I'm just going to keep crying. There we go. All right, awesome. So we can see you can just easily maintain full uptime on all your rage with this. And I think it'll be a lot easier once we're able to get some of that quality onto our Warcries to really make that work. But obviously that's a humongous like damage add by being able to permanently have 49, 50 rage at all times. Huge value add. So I did play around with that. I like that a lot. Now, in terms of defenses, 2 things. 1, I think the new armor, I haven't played with any of the new bases, but just the new life values on gear has made it way easier to feel tanky. Like I got up to close to 5k life while pretty much SSF other than this axe that I bought. And I think these gloves, which don't really have that much life. But like pretty much everything else has been solo self-found gear. And I'm really pleased by that. I definitely have felt more tanky than I'm used to. It's interesting feeling how an armor-based character feels after years of playing primarily evasion, where I feel much less safe in large packs of enemies than I normally would on Toxic Rain. But then against big guys who just hit hard, totally fine. Very different feeling. Kind of interesting to see how the other half lives. And then finally, I think I'll wrap up by talking about Calm's Command. I got this from the League mechanic. Love the League mechanic. Moving on from that real quick. Like the League mechanic a lot. Definitely going to make a video about it. A lot of videos about it. Very complex. But I got this helm, and it makes it so that when you Warcry, you explode corpses, and then you get Warcry speed and Warcry AoE. I had just a regular helm with like a 140 life and I think like 900 armor and a bunch of like resistances and stuff on it. Just a very regular normal helm. In place of this, I did try playing around with this, and I'll run through Blood Aqueducts, even though I guess I should do a regular map actually. Yeah, let's do a proper map. And let's also do it with Ground Slam instead of Earthshatter, since Ground Slam is a little bit smoother for mapping purposes. But I'll just grab like, what have we got here? Tier 10 map, Sulfur Vents. Okay, whatever. Roll this, that's fine. I think Fizz Reflect and like Can't Leech are probably like the main stats that I would be scared of. I don't know where I'm going to put that next point. I played around with my tree a lot. I will put a POB in. So I did talk about this yesterday with like just a very brief stream that I did with my channel manager before the league launched, where I just talked about what my plan was. And I had a whole like just a very basic tree for my kind of my plan for leveling. I have deviated from that slightly. Not all that heavily. I think one of the main things I dropped was I dropped Corrupted Blood, can't be afflicted or infected on you, Protection Mastery, because you don't really hit fast enough for Corrupted Blood to be an issue. And then a lot of it has just been like, okay, I put in the endurance charges and I take them out and I put in some life points, and I take out the life points and I put in a max res, and I take out the max res, just kind of shuffling deck cheers around on the Titanic every time I die. So yeah, this is kind of like how the build has been handling. Slamming pretty hard. As you can see, slamming is the name of the game. But just to give kind of a taste of like how it plays, just kind of moving through the map, and then just I see that I'm going to get close to 0 exerts on one of my 2 self-cast exert skills. I refresh. That's pretty much it. We're gonna put that guy in prison, and I've really been enjoying this build a lot. It's definitely exceeded my like lowest expectations. Definitely slower than Toxic Rain was, but still having a lot of fun. Now, to talk about this Calm's Command, let's just, you can see it kind of creates an Earthshatter style play style by making it so that when you have a bunch of corpses on the ground, you can shout and it'll blow them up. This is at odds with the Axe Mastery that makes it so enemies killed by your hits are destroyed. Normally this is good. It makes it so porcupines don't explode. It makes it so that almost all of the on-death mechanics that exist don't go off. There is one on-death mechanic where like enemies will spawn a bunch of little green poop balls that'll come kill you. That still functions, and that has killed me, I think, more than everything else in this league combined. I've been killed by the little green poop balls because I get lulled into a sense of security because I have enemies on death or destroyed. And then I'm like watching TV or looking at something else or thinking about other stuff to do with the build. And then I die, and then I look at the replay, and it is a million little green poop balls sending me to the nether realm. So, you know, it's interesting that, just kind of as like a brief thought on Melee, people had really been begging for a long time for a way to like carry the totem buffs with them. And people had also been asking for like a reduction in the amount of keybinds for Melee, and like not so much piano, not so much whatever. And I feel like Melee is really good. I don't feel like the number of keybinds has actually gone down. If anything, it's about the same. Maybe it's slightly changed. But just by getting rid of the kill ability of totems and shifting it into just personal self buffs that you can like queue up during a downtime phase or while you're walking around, you can use them to maintain rage generation. Like, a lot of quality of life is baked into them. I think it really fixed all the problems while still keeping the gameplay loop that GGG wants, where you do actually have to do stuff other than just literally walk around and hold right mouse button the whole time. Although ultimately you can automate 5 Warcries and do that eventually. And I think this is all really great. I think they've actually managed to strike a really successful compromise between what they want, what the players want, and I think it's been a slamming success. So I'm really happy with it. I'm just going to finish out this research here, and then we'll wrap up. So, as I was saying with this helm, I think it creates pretty much the same playstyle as Earthshatter, but worse, because, of course, you have to actually have corpses. Now, I think it could be good. I just don't know that it's good for this particular build. I think it's probably better for some other different type of build, maybe some sort of more Warcry buff and singing based chieftain, more than like the Slammin Berserker that I'm playing. But I could be wrong. Maybe there's some sort of functionality to it that I'm not thinking about, but I think I would rather just go back to having like 70 more flat life and I think like 600 or 700 more armor on my helm than I got out of this one. I did get it from the League mechanic. It's very cheap. I looked to see what the price was because I was like, ooh, fancy. I'm a rich man now. And it's like a 1 alch unique or whatever. So no, not so rich, but that's okay. All right, things left to do on the build. Lots. There's so much stuff left to do. I don't have Molten Shell in the build at all, and I really want to figure that out. I want to get Molten Shell linked up with automation support so I don't have to actually cast it. That is definitely a huge liability defensively. I also don't have enough int to be able to level up all my, I can't level up Punishment, I think, again, or Vulnerability I can't level up. Herald of Purity I can't level up. So I gotta be less stupid. Gotta figure out Molten Shell automation. Definitely more to add in. Probably want to re-add Enduring Cry. Definitely the build's still a work in progress. Gotta get a 6 link on my body armor so I can have more automated cries, do less piano. But ultimately, I've been really happy with the build. Doesn't feel all that piano. Hits insanely hard. I've been shredding bosses. Been really happy with the performance so far, and surprisingly pretty happy with the tankiness. It did not feel as flimsy as I worried it would, and I think a lot of that has to do with just the brand new massive life modifiers. All right, I think that wraps it up. This is a bit longer than I intended it for it to be, but you know, nice and comprehensive. Hopefully this helps if you are making your way through the League on a Melee build. Hopefully this kind of gives you some thoughts, gives you some assistance. All right, thanks for watching, and have fun with this League. It's so good. Bye.